ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ನನ್ನ ಚಾನಲ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಸೊ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ವೀಕು ನಿಮಗೆ ಸೂಪರ್ ಡೂಪರ್ ಆಗಿರೋಂಥ ಬೈಕರ್ ವೀಕೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತೋರಿಸಿದೆ. ದೀಪಕ್ ಕಾಮತ್ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ನು, ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವಿ ನಾವು ಆ ಒಂದು ಮೀಟಪ್ಪಲ್ಲಿ. ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ರೈಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು, ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ಬಹಳ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಆಗಿರೋವಂಥ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಪರ್ಸನ್ನ ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈ ವಾರನೂ ಕೂಡ ಬೈಕರ್ಸ್ ವೀಕೆಂಡು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ನಡೀತಾ ಇರೋವಂಥದ್ದು ಮಾರತಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿರೋ KTM ಶೋರೂಮಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ KTM ಶೋರೂಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಇವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಕಡಿಮೆನೇ. ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಇವರ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿಗಳು ಇರ್ತೀರ. ಆ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಾದರೆ, ನನಗೂ ಅವರು ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನು. ಯಾರು ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಈ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ, ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಸಮಾಚಾರಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಈಗ KTM ಶೋರೂಮ್ ಹತ್ರ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾನು ಮಾರತಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಯಾರು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಆಗಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ನಾನು. ವೀಕ್ಷಕರಿಗೆ ನಿಮಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾರವರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ವುಮೆನ್ ರೈಡರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ವೆಯ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಯಾರು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ.
This thing when you bite me like broke without you, driving me crazy just driving me crazy just combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand.
ಮುಂಜಾನೆ ಮಂಜಲಿ ಮುಸ್ಸಂಜೆ ತಂಪಲ್ಲಿ ಓಲವೇ ನೀನಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಡುಕಾಟ ನಿನದಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಎದೆಯೊಳಗೆ ನೀಳಿದು ಜನಮನದ ಮೌನ ಮುರಿದು ಬಿಸಿ ಉಸಿರನ್ನು ಬಗೆದು ನಿಟ್ಟುಸಿರನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದು ಆವರಿಸು ಈ ಬೇಗೆ ನೀ ಹರಿಸು ಮನದಾಳದ ಉಲ್ಲಾಸನಿ.
Everyone for coming here. After 2 long years, I'm finally meeting so many people at one spot. So I'm really grateful and thanks once again. So a lot of you know what I've done, what I'm doing and all of that, but I'm just going to give you like a brief of how I got into motorcycles, how I converted my love and passion for motorcycles into a full-time job, how I continue to do this, and I know a lot of people here who are doing the same thing and have turned their passion into profession. So I hope these few small tips will help you in the future. And after I'm done, you all can ask me questions as well. So we'll do that, okay? So basically, I'm from Hubli, Karnataka. I grew up riding with all my college friends to all these different waterfalls, beaches, and everything that is very close to Hubli. So I started riding almost 15 years ago with my dad, and I started riding on a Pulsar and a CD100, and then slowly graduated to different motorcycles. And in 2014 my dad gifted me a motorcycle on my birthday, and I think that was when the bug really bit me. So my journey so far, I worked in a corporate office. So I worked in Oracle and Infosys for 6 years before I could actually move into full-time motorcycles. So in 2015 was when I rode 34,000 kilometers through 22 states of India in 7 months. And the next big ride for me was a ride in Cambodia, where me and 3 other friends rode through really remote villages in Cambodia, delivering laptops and teaching children English. English. So that's a picture from there. Then I also did a safety awareness ride covering 7,000 kilometers with SEAT in 2015 as well. And then like everyone else, I was doing all these rides while I was working with Oracle and Infosys. But it got way too much because I always wanted to be on the road, but office and work was getting really difficult. I remember me and Violet in 2014 or 15, I would finish work at Infosys at 9 or 10, and then we would go on night rides and finish riding at 2 or 3 in the night, and then I'd go back to office in the morning. So that's how I was managing while I was working. And then, and then when I quit my job in 2016, I did not know what I could do because at that time there was not many women motorcyclists, especially women motorcyclists that were making money in this field. So I started looking out for jobs, but the only job I could get at that time was to work at a showroom or to work as a mechanic, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to go out and explore India and the world. So I had to create a job for myself. So that's when I went and approached a company called Wicked Ride, and I told them that y'all are renting motorcycles in India. I want to help you get more customers by, I will lead tours for you every week to different places in India. Give me an opportunity to prove myself. And that's where I started my motorcycle tours in 2016. And luckily I got to lead more than 40 trips. So every time my mother would call me and say, when are you coming back home? And I'm like, when this fuel gets low, when I don't have money to pay for the fuel, that's when I'll come back home. This is the ride from Cambodia that I was talking about, where we rode through really remote villages that a lot of cars hardly make it to these villages. Like those cars have been stuck for 3-4 days, and they take almost a week to get to the villages while the bikes reach within 1 day. The last question that I get is, can you ride a big motorcycle? Can you ride a heavy motorcycle? I get a lot of messages from boys and girls saying that I am only 5 feet. Can I ride a KTM? Can I ride this? So it is possible. You can ride any bike. So in 2018, this was at Vedana Sauda in Bangalore. I put up a post saying that I'm going to be leaving to Australia on my Dominar, and I was so grateful to have more than 150 people show up at 6 a.m. in Vedana Sauda. Until that moment, I really did not know I was actually going to be riding all the way to Australia. I just had a dream that I would make it there. I just knew I'm going through 10 different countries, but I did not know how. Vietnam did not allow me to enter on my Indian motorcycle because you can only enter Vietnam on a 200cc bike or less. So in Vietnam, I rode a 110cc motorcycle. So that's why the kilometer difference. Okay, so I started in 2018 from Bangalore, and then I reached Sydney, Australia, which was my final destination only on March 31st. So I got delayed by 2 months because from India to Bali, I rode, and then from Bali to Perth, Australia, I shipped the motorcycle, but because of a lot of delays, the shipping actually took 2 months. So that's why I got delayed. And then again from Perth to Sydney, Australia was another 10,000 kilometers of riding. So that's why I took about 219 days. I had a clue how to make motorcycling my career. It was all about passion, it was all about riding. But after like about 7 years of doing this, now I understand how this industry works and how you can keep doing what you want to do. But for that, you have to put in a lot of effort. Nothing comes easy. lot of time. So first and foremost, before you quit your job, you have to first discover your interests and things that make you happy. Realize that I'm a person that can continuously ride for 3 months, 6 months, 7 months and not get tired. But I know a lot of people on social media keep on messaging me saying, we do a 1-day ride, we do a 2-day ride and we get like back pain or I don't know how to explain this to you all, but how do we do it like you? So that's the thing where passion comes. Luckily for me, I worked in the corporate office for 6 years and I had enough savings to at least help me last for 1 year. So that when I called my mother and told her that I'm quitting my finance job to do something in motorcycling, she was like, are you gone mad? Are you crazy that you're giving up everything that you studied for, everything that we sent you to college, you're just leaving everything to ride motorcycles? She started shouting at my dad and saying, you did this to her, you bought her a motorcycle and now she doesn't want to come back home. So I said, you gotta trust me, give me 1 year of time, I asked my mother to give me 1 year time, and if I can't prove myself within this 1 year, I'm going to go back to my finance job. Then once I was in it, I realized that it's such a difficult field for a lady to get into. Like I would go to a few mechanics in Bangalore and I would ask them, could you please train me on how to repair my motorcycle? I really want to learn, but they would all say, why do you want to learn how to repair a motorcycle? Every few kilometers there is a mechanic, so you don't need one. So I would get like pushed off, or they would say, stop leading motorcycle tours and just work in a showroom. That way you're getting a stable income. But that's not what I wanted to do. There's so much more. This was soon after the first lockdown. This video, it takes me back to this amazing ride that I did after staying at home for 7 long months of no riding because of the lockdown. But looking back now after all these months, when I see the video, there was a lot of pain involved in this that none of you see it, okay? Because I don't show that side of my life to the world. So on the second day of me riding through Karnataka, I actually, while the drone was following me, while I was walking on the waterfall, I actually slipped and fell down and dislocated one of my knees. Okay, but I knew that I had to finish this ride, and there was almost 25 days more of the ride to do, and I didn't want to end it. So every day, my partner Sukesh and my dad would literally carry and put me on the motorcycle, and that's how I was doing the ride every day. And you don't even see that this ride was 25 days, and every single day we were riding to a new place and coming back to Hubli. So it's not like we were staying in different hotels or different places. So every day I would go like to Gokarna, back to Hubli, Jog Falls, back to Hubli. COVID restrictions were really high and we did not want to stay in the hotel. If I stop riding, then I won't get any more opportunities, and that's why I pushed myself and I continued riding and finished this. Because of this intense riding, and soon after this I also went with my dislocated knee for a ride to Arunachal Pradesh and continued riding there for another 17 days or 14 days. And on the last day when it was my birthday, we actually hiked up a mountain, and I think that really ruined my other knee. So I came back with 2 dislocated knees. And that is why I was off the riding scene for at least, 8-9 months. So this is what happens when you make riding your profession. You can't take a break sometimes. You have to keep pushing yourself. You have to keep proving yourself, because in this male-dominated field that we are, everyone always says that you're a girl. Are you seriously riding a motorcycle? You can't do this, you can't do that. And actually now I've done proving myself. I just do it for myself and for my happiness, but that will happen to you if you get into this field. So you have to learn to be strong, you have to learn to love what you're doing even though it becomes your profession, and you have to sacrifice a lot. Again, like family time, friends. I hardly see my parents, and yeah, these are a few sacrifices, but I think if you keep doing that, there's a lot of opportunities lying ahead of you, and you can definitely pursue your passion in this. It was an incredible ride and very unforgettable, and I would definitely want to do that someday again. So if you all have any questions that you all want to ask me regarding anything.
So hi. So I want to ask, when you are traveling to the off-roads, how do you manage security issues like during the night, and you are traveling to the remote locations where we don't have much idea. So one thing is that, and second thing is, how do you get to know that you'll have sufficient fuel, and like suppose you're stuck somewhere, how will you fuel your bike? Yeah. And yeah, I'll sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
Like since there's a lot of dust and something, so how do you manage your skin and all that?
Thank you for your question. So it comes with practice, okay? The more you ride, the more you understand what is needed to be carried at all times. So for me, riding, I've done a lot of solo trips. So my first priority is safety. Okay, so I always tell my parents where I am at what times, but I have a tracker on the bike or in my phone, or you can also get a spot tracker, but it's not legal in India. So there are other trackers that are available, like the Kogo tracker and stuff like that. So always have a tracker on you. So even if your parents can't reach you on the phone, when they open the app, they know where you are at what times. Okay? So that is one way of how they can be at peace, and also you will know that someone is watching over you. Okay? And then the second thing is, like you must have seen in the video itself, I went on a solo ride, but I was never alone, because everywhere I went, I either met people who were following me through Facebook, or met strangers, or met biking clubs, or met everywhere you go, you will just find someone or somebody. So like once you start traveling, you will learn to trust people. You can't be afraid of everybody. Not everyone has bad intentions, right? Everyone is there. Everyone is very curious to know what you're doing at such a remote place. So that is why they're very curious, and they keep talking to you and asking you questions. And there are a lot of times when I was riding through India on the Enfield and stuff, where my silencer would fall like a million times, and truck drivers would stop and literally burn their fingers and help me like fix it. So there are a lot of good people as well across the world that will be there to help you. While the video was just showing Thailand, and they did not complete the video, but on that day in Thailand, we had actually got lost in a national forest, and waited for someone to pass by that way, but no one did. And the previous day I had fallen in the bathroom, and I had, I think, broken my wrist, which I tied it with crepe bandage and continued riding. And because that off-roading stretch was really bad, and because I had lost movement in my wrist, so I kept dropping the bike after every 5 minutes. So after dropping the bike for 5 times, I did not have any more strength to lift the bike. So just slept by the side of the bike that night, and I said, let me just wait for someone to come and pick me up the next day and go. So even I waited and woke up the next day, no one came, but by that time we got the strength to get up, and then that's how I started riding and made it out of there. But that one experience made me realize that food and water is the most essential things than any of my clothes, any of all the spare parts and this and all of that that you're carrying. So from then onwards, I carried a lot of food, like things that I can make easily, a lot of energy bars, a lot of water and fuel. So fuel is not an issue anywhere in the world. Even if you don't find a petrol bunk, you will always find houses or shops or somebody that will sell you fuel in the bottle. It's about my skin. I don't know if you've seen pictures, but I always wear a scarf.
Mhm.
A scarf. Yeah, so that is what keeps the dust away from my hair and my skin.
Just a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Since you have mentioned a lot of times, patriarchal society and, males are, dominant in this particular field.
Yeah.
So, in context to that only, can you explain a little bit about the safety? Safety concerns that you faced or you didn't face, or if that shot up to your mind, and I've seen that you are putting camps. For me, it was like camp somewhere. So how did you get to know about the possible outcomes in that particular area, and related to the insects, related to the wildlife, and related to the areas that are affected, like Daku, Chor.
So to be honest with you, in India, I only camp in places that are owned by my friends, or in resorts, in homestays, in places that people have land that where no outsiders come in. Okay, so if you've seen the videos, I've not camped anywhere in India, but I started camping once I went out of India.
Then that is more dangerous, right? You don't know anything about that.
No, but it's more safer in other countries, I guess, because it's so big and remote. Like, because there's so much of population in India, even you may go to the most remote place and you would think that no one is there, but suddenly in the night someone will open the zipper and ask, who is there? So that is what will happen in India. You may think you're in a very remote place.
How about Cambodia?
So Cambodia and stuff, I camped, but again, I camped at a friend's place. Why? Because Cambodia and Vietnam have a lot of grenades that aren't exploded yet. So in Cambodia and Vietnam, you have to always stick to the road. Even if you have to go pee, you can't go like 2 steps or 3 steps into the jungle because the grenade will go off. So whenever you're traveling to different countries, you should also learn about their history, about their culture, so that you can be aware and you know what to do. So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're traveling from one place to another, so you keep on changing the currencies.
Yeah, that is very easy. That you don't even have to worry about. At the border, there will be like currency exchange. So you make sure you carry USD because that is acceptable everywhere. INR is not acceptable.
This is limited quantity, that we can take USD.
But you don't. I think it's $10,000. What will you do
Achha.
about it? My whole trip will get over $10,000. Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Yeah. Hi.
So when you're doing the Australia trip,
Yeah.
you will, like sometimes it would be you will be mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. How do you motivate yourself to not give up?
I'm human, and a lot of times I also tend to give up. But luckily, I have very supportive family and friends who keep on pushing me to keep going. Like, there were many times that I called my mother and I said, I want to come back because nothing is going as planned. Because some days I'm riding from like 5 in the morning till 2 a.m. in the night and I still have 100, 200 kilometers more to go. Those are the days that are the most toughest. Like, I'll be literally crying and telling, what am I doing with my life? I could have just been in my corporate job, sitting there and making money. Why am I pushing myself through all these things? And torture. Some days are torturous, but at the end of that day is when the most beautiful things happen. Like this day that I'm talking to you about, wherein I rode from early morning till late night, I got to witness the most beautiful sunrise on top of a volcano mountain. So when you see stuff like this, you forget about all the hardships that you endured to get there. Any other question?
How about the safety? Like you'll be traveling all alone as a woman. So have you encountered any bad things on the roads or something like that?
Okay, I get asked this question the most, but you should realize that everywhere I go, the first question that someone asks me, especially reporters and stuff, is, did something bad happen to you? And if I say no, then they sometimes don't even take my interview, they just go away. So, the bad media is what trends or attracts thing, but the world is safe. Like I know so many people, so many girls that are riding around India doing so many things, and once you keep riding you will learn to trust people, and there are times that you face bad people, but you will learn to move away from them or to just avoid getting into that extreme situation. Before that you will learn, like I don't know how to explain this, but as you ride, as you experience things, you will know when to move away from there, or you won't let it go to that extreme. You will learn how to handle situations. And there are times that like at some events and where I'm always flooded with a lot of boys and stuff, then Harshman Rai says he's my father. Everyone runs away. So stuff like that, there are always friends around to help you. And the biking community around the world is so close together that you put one message in any of the biking groups, I think in 10 minutes or 1 hour you will have help, no matter where you are in the world. Like when I was riding, I had one puncture, and I don't know, I posted it in an India group and it reached the Laos group, and I had a local Lao club come and help me. So that's how close everyone is. So sometimes you should just trust, and you should keep your club informed. Keep your parents informed, and that way you'll be safe. And last thing but not the least, you have to believe in the power of prayers. You have to trust that someone somewhere out there is protecting you. I think if you believe in that and if you trust, then you'll be safe. So yeah, thank you so much once again for coming here and listening to all my notes.
ಈಗ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ ನಾನು ಯಾರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ, ಯಾರು ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಅವರೇ ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಿಡಾ ಲೂಯಿಸ್ ಅವರು, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಂದ ಆಸ್ಟ್ರೇಲಿಯಾ ತನಕ ಸೋಲೋ ಮಾಡಿದವರು. ಇವರನ್ನ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿ ತಗೋಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ರೈಡರ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ. ಸೊ ಇದಾಗಿತ್ತು ಈ ಹೊತ್ತಿನ ಕಂಟೆಂಟು. ಸಿಗ್ತೀನಿ ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ವಿಚಾರ, ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಬೈಕರ್ಸ್ ವೀಕೆಂಡಿನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಬೇಗ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.